Can you follow that?
I can. Bud is hard. That's a hard man to follow. First off, thank you guys for adding me to the agenda. Always good to be back home. Even though I'm in and out with the students, but it's good to be back home. So last time I was here about 4 years ago, I pitched you guys an idea about Unite, starting a new chapter here. So we started that chapter 4 years ago, and I think it's been extremely successful. So you guys should have the packet. I think the proposal in here. So I want to draw your attention to page 1 of some of our accomplishments and achievements that we've been able to, some of the goals we've been able to meet since we started this particular chapter. So if I turn your attention to the scholarships piece, we know right now in higher ed, since about 1990, higher ed, the inflation on tuition is about 400%. So we're looking at students graduating with a 4-year degree with over $150,000 in debt for one degree. Not including if you go to medical school, go to law school, if you go to any professional school, or just to get a master's. So we're looking at the highest we've ever been in the country in student debt, which is kind of scary at the moment. But one of the things we kind of brag on and pride ourselves is allowing our students to get scholarships, full scholarships. So as you see, in 2016, we graduated 2 students when we really got started, and they had accumulated over $1 million in scholarships. 2017, we had a large year. We graduated 6 seniors, and they accumulated $3.7 million in scholarships. And 2018, last year, we had 1 student who completed $1.1 million in scholarships, and that brings us total like 5.8. So we've had, if you look at it, 9 seniors that have accumulated more scholarships than entire school districts. So that tells us that what we're doing is working. So one of the things that I really brag about is just not the scholarship, but we had every senior graduate our program with at least 1 scholarship to a university. So we don't have any students right now attending a particular university that's not on an academic scholarship. We also pride ourselves in community service. So one of the criteria of being in the program, you have to complete at least 50 hours of community service just to get in, and that service has to be to the city. So we've been able to accumulate over 2,500 hours of community service in just 3 years, and that service was to Rentham Daycare, that service to the nursing homes, both nursing homes, and then some of the educational camps that our schools, so JP Power and Eastside, we allow students to get that service. And then as you can see too, our seniors have been accepted to over 200 different universities worldwide. So that's just not, we're not counting like if a student is accepted to Southern Union and 3 students accepted to Southern Union, that doesn't count as 3, that's 1 university. So they've been accepted to over 200 different universities across the world. And currently we have students attending UAB, Southern University, Tuskegee, Auburn University, Miles College, Selma University, and Norfolk State University. So that's big to say, like the city of Lafayette is producing our students not only just to stay in the state of Alabama, to actually go out and compete with other students worldwide. So another piece that we're really proud of, if I can turn your attention to page 2, is our academic partnership. So this is an actual copy and snippet from Auburn University's website, their official website. So if you go to it, we're listed as one of their official partners for the Center for Educational Outreach and Engagement under the direction of Dr. Nixon. So she's originally from California, graduated from Stanford University, but she's running some programs with us, and I'm going to talk later about the significance of the proposal in creating more partnerships with Auburn University. And then Specs is a local company that does our ACT prep. So they're partnering with Lee County Schools, Macon County Schools, and some of the other entities. They're out of Tallahassee, but they do our educational tutoring as it relates to the ACT and SAT prep. So we have some really great partnerships, and this is just some of the other ones, some of the local ones. One of our corporate sponsors, believe it or not, is Chick-fil-A. So we've been able to get some corporate funding from Chick-fil-A, as well as some other well-renowned businesses. But why I'm here today is to talk about an opportunity I want to present to the council. And this opportunity is, we're big on giving back. That's one of the things that Unite stands for, You and I Together Excel. And it isn't about the wisdom that you have, it's about the wisdom that you share with other people. So we've been successful over the last 3 years, but we're looking to grow our impact. Because right now, you see, we're only working with a select number of students, but we've been able to grow our vision, and my board approved the strategic plan that our goal now is to broaden our horizons and educate people from K to post-20. That means anybody from kindergarten to adult learners. But one of the things we need is a space to do this. We've had a lot of other cities approach us about taking Unite from Lafayette and actually hosted in other cities, but I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to say like, hey, this is our program and we want to take advantage of it. However, I do report to a board, so there's no promise that if we can't create this partnership that Unite will be able to stay here. Unfortunately, we have a lot of interest, but what we're looking to do is provide educational services to the entire city of Lafayette. So this is not just Lafayette High School, Lafayette JP Powell. This is, if you're a citizen, we're looking to provide educational services to you. And if you can see, turn your attention to some of the examples. For example, for adult learners, financial literacy is important. So let's talk about credit, let's talk about budgeting, let's talk about investing in banking. So I'm a certified lecturer when it comes to Allied Bank. So I'm certified to teach banking and investing, credit, auto financing, and these different classes that we're saying we're willing to do these things free of charge to the city as a service. Also, home ownership. I have a lot of partners with local real estate. So we have a lot of people that are interested. If we want to recruit economic growth to the county, then we need people to buy houses, because we know what tax dollars do when people buy houses inside the city limits. However, we got to teach people how to buy houses and how to get financially prepared to do so. So that's what we're offering to do. Also, when it comes to job placement, one of the biggest things now is you just can't fill out an application, but you need a resume, you need interview skills. So these are some of the things I'm currently doing at Clemson University in their local community, where I provide services for interview skills and professional networking. And of course, we'll do the healthy living, right? Well-being is important to live. And so we're talking about healthy eating, teaching people how to grow. We have the community garden. So we want to partner with the people in the community garden to teach people how to grow their own gardens and provide incentives in class and for local farming. We really have to get back to our agricultural roots, because a lot of the foods aren't healthy for us. But if you can grow, I remember it was a day where you ate what you grew in the garden. So that's where I want to get back to. So particularly, we're interested in signing a long-term lease for the community building. That's on MLK, right where MLK leads is 324 First Street. The old community house. And right now, the building hasn't been in use for 15 years. So what I'm proposing is you guys lease us this building and allow us to provide the services. Now, what my board has committed to is assisting in the renovation. So there will be no charge to the city outside the lease for us to go in and make it how we want to make it. But what I will request is, I really want this to be a community building. This is, even though Unite will be running this building and we'll be overseeing it, but I want the community to invest in this building. So what I'm going to charge, if you guys approve, I'm going to charge the city council member, each city council member, to host an action day, to where you invite your constituents to come in and help us renovate this building. We want all of the work to be done local. So Representative Ellis, one day if we need painting, I'll say, hey, we want your citizens and your community to come out, and all we're going to do is paint. Or we'll put down floors. So we want everybody to know that this is your building and this is your opportunity. Specifically, as we're talking about a consolidation, I feel like with the consolidation, I'm not on either end of the spectrum, but Lafayette has the most to lose. So we have to show as a city that we're going to invest in our education right here in Lafayette. So we're one of the only cities that don't have a community center. So what we're offering here with Unite through our 501c3, which you guys asked me to go get, which I got. We're asking that you guys give us, lease us this building so that we can be the community center, specifically to run summer camps, specifically to do after-school tutoring. So we'll shift our focus specifically for our students. Instead of doing 50 hours community service outside of the building, we're going to shift that in the building. We have a current chapter. We just did a leadership summit in Montgomery, Alabama, and that chapter has already committed to manpower from students to come in on the weekends and actually do some of these workshops that we're talking to. Now, I briefly mentioned about the Auburn partnership. Well, one of the things that has hindered us from working with Auburn University is actually having a facility outside of a church. For religious reasons, in state and public university, there's so much you can do with a university. However, Auburn is working with Wilcox County. You know how far Wilcox is from Auburn? This center. Right, so I'm telling them, like, hey, we're right here 30 minutes from you guys in the same rural environment that you're doing with Wilcox. Why can't you bring that program to here? And what was that response? Hey, if you give us the opportunity, we'll provide some of that programming. Also, I think on the last note is grant dollars. Like with us being an outside entity and a 501c3, there are a lot of grant opportunities that we can get if we have a community center, that we can really grow some of these initiatives that we're talking about. So I feel like, at the end of the day, we're here to serve at the pleasure of the citizens of Lafayette. And I think we owe them to give them a community center. And as you can see, this is not going to be an ordinary community center. I've done my research around what community centers do, and what this would not be. It would not turn into a rental space. So this building will not be available for birthday parties. It will not be available for family reunions. It will not be available for socials. It's only going to be available for educational use. So if you want to come in and bring a speaker, we'll create an online application process, and we'll have, my board has created guidelines to what we will and what we won't entertain. So if you want to do a town hall, if you want to do a political debate, all of these things, free speech, will happen in this specific building, but it will not serve as an entertainment space in no form or fashion. We will not charge people except for a cleanup fee. So we would charge you a cleanup fee. If you clean up, it'll be returned. And a lot of our, if the only fees that we're looking to charge for the use of the building or for people to come, if we have a seminar and somebody charges us to come run the seminar. We're not looking to gain any financial, there are no employees with United Incorporated. All of us are volunteers. However, all of our money goes directly to our students, and paying for their ACT and paying for the college tour, which we're about to go on our 5th college tour in March. So every year, right now, we're raising about $15,000 to $20,000 a year just to take our students on an expense-paid college tour for a week. This year, we're going back up to DC, so they'll visit the Capitol. We'll visit the Smithsonian Museum, and then we'll come on back to Alabama and hope that some of these students get out of here so they can come back and do what I'm doing tenfold. So, any questions?
I appreciate everything you guys are doing, and it sounds very good to me. And I was looking at the old community house just recently and just thinking, what can we do with this building? Just been sitting here, so
You got something?
I'm on board.
Hey man, I appreciate everything you do for the county and the city of Lafayette. I mean, you went out, you made something out of yourself, I'm proud of you. You coming back and you sharing your city that you grew up in. I like that.
Well, I attribute that to people that poured into me. You know, you guys, a lot of people gave me the opportunity to go off. But one of the things I'm big on is you never forget where you come from. So if you read anything about me, the first thing in my bio is going to say I'm from Lafayette, Alabama, and I'm not ashamed of that. So I want people, as we're telling our young students to go off and be successful, we got to add on to that, but come back and give back. And that's the most important thing. Like, yeah, go off and be successful, but what are you doing for the city? So this is my heart. And again, I never want to take Unite from the city of Lafayette, but as a business, I'm accountable to my board. You know, and one of the things that we've been struggling with specifically is, out of the $10,000 that we're raising, $8,000 is coming from out-of-state funding, and that says a lot for out-of-city funding. So, you know, I really want to take this opportunity to invest, hoping that the citizens can invest back into our students, because if you don't have an education, you're not going far.
And I would like to also input that we also have some young folks from Auburn that's a member of Unite, that travel from Auburn.
Yeah. So currently, right now, we have one of our students from Valley is here, and then we have a student from Auburn. So I want Lafayette to be the hub. We're expanding. It's not a Lafayette High thing anymore. It's a Chambers County, Lee County. Hopefully we can expand, but I hope that it is housed in Lafayette. That's my goal, to keep it in Lafayette.
My only statement would be, I don't want to speak for everybody, I think we'll all be on board and do everything that we can. I think you need to be as specific as you can with the lease agreement, number of years, what you would be expecting, and let us take a look at how the document and everything we need to be drawn in.
Okay.
Kind of what you're specifically looking for. Not just the lease, how long, and
Yeah, when I say long-term lease, my board made it clear that when I spoke, we're not speaking of anything less than 25 years.
I mean, whatever specifics
Yeah.
that you would need, that the wording would have to come from us to make the document.
Can I ask you a question? What are you currently doing with the buildings that you lease?
The building.
What do those leases look like?
And the release quality of.
So who do you lease to, and what do they charge? What do they pay for? What do you pay for?
It was on the square footage.
Yeah, the only one we have is
There's one.
the medical clinic that I'm aware of that we actually rent. And it's under, 5 year plus one, so there's not quite that long term, and I don't remember, it's by the foot, I can't tell you that dollar amount.
Attorney Tucker, can't we, do like we did with
are much more significant in nature than the ones that were Mount Zion. The contract's gonna have to be much more specific. Construction guidelines, qualifications, inspections, and things will need to be handled. And there's more options than just a community house, because when you look at what needs to be done, whether you got compliance issues or code issues or something, if they get in the building and decide, that's gonna be cost prohibitive for us to make this compliant with what it needs to be, we got other space that we can do the same
What's the
type of thing.
condition of community house now? It's up to compliance, we just had problems with the condominiums, right?
I'm sure it has to be inspected and, make sure nothing as far as sprinkler, fire, you had to have fire marshal and all them inspect and do all that stuff too. So
I think
It's just
that
tonight,
ADA
just discussion and,
Is it ADA compliant?
I don't know, it's all they gotta be looked at. But
I
that's,
can't imagine that.
tonight is just pretty much just putting it out there, talking, we get together, maybe have a work session, want to get more information and.
Well, that's why I'm looking, to get that building, to make it ADA compliant, we gotta spend X number of dollars, and that's too much. We do have other space we might can move off into, especially with new city hall, with plenty of space. If we fix it up room by room by room,
But when will New City Hall be ready?
I don't know, maybe as quick as the community house, I don't know.
So, if the new City Hall is equivalent for them to have, it would be big enough for them to have a room, whatever they need, right? So, if that community house don't work, how about the new City Hall?
Well, so I'm not opposed to any space. However, I think we do have specifications for specifically the use. What we're trying to offer would need a separate space, if that makes sense.
If we said-
To move it in and out.
Yeah,
Swaps and
Yeah.
everything that we might have. Take a look at the property.
well,
See what
I've already.
I'm saying though in regards to, let's see what we can come up with. Let's work toward a common goal.
Mhm. So what time frame are you looking, because, we're ready for action.
Well, I think that's gonna depend on your construction schedule and requirements. So if you've already looked at that building, so I think I need to know exactly what modifications you think you want to do or need to be done.
They're all cosmetic, so outside of getting around, so we will do, the ADA, the bring it up to code. I think they're pretty much cosmetic, things. But I do wanna make a statement, cause I'm not necessarily looking to pay in return for service, if that makes sense. So I think that's kind of absurd for us to pay for a building in return of, then we will have to in turn charge the
Right.
citizens, which would be a no-win. For us, but what we are proposing is if there are things cosmetically that need to be changed, that we would want changed, then we would be willing to take on that cost. But as far as like main structure issues, we're not looking to put $10,000
Right.
into a building that then we're gonna turn around and do service. I don't think that'd be fair.
We need to look at the building ourselves and see what we need to get done to the building. And if you've already looked at it from the outside, we can get George to go on the inside and see, don't you think, what we need to do?
Yeah, but I really think it's important when George does it, he also knows exactly what you're intending on doing. And then George can look at it with that in mind and go, yeah, but we need to do this, you need to do that, we need to do this, you need to do
Well,
that.
we just need to let him get in touch with George.
Yeah.
But as far as we're concerned, we don't have a problem, is that correct? So, Mayor, do we need to take a vote on that tonight, or how do we need to do that? Because I certainly don't want to lose this chapter here.
I would suggest, I wouldn't vote or anything like that, I would just think that we could, if you would get with George in regards to the specifics that you want, and,
When you mean specifics that I want,
well, I guess a lot of it, I don't know all the answers. Let's just say that you wanna have a certain number that may utilize the building. What is your capacity for the building and things like that? I'm just saying that you and George, based on what you have, that we can make it meet all the codes that need to be met, that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And if we can meet all the codes and assist you with volunteering to help, we'll do anything we can.
Too, like I said too, you're gonna have to get
If they
fire marshal, we're gonna have to come down and inspect and make sure all that stuff is where it needs to be, the wiring and that building's been vacant for so long.
Yeah.
And I would think that would really help that process is if you had like a floor plan and you could present to George and said, yeah, I plan on using this for a meeting room, we plan on doing this on the wall, it sure would be nice if this wall wasn't there, you know, or that kind of thing, just basically have a plan of what you intend to do on the inside cosmetically. And then go ahead and get your ADA issues, whether your compliance is, if it is in compliance or not. That to me is the biggest issue, is the ADA compliance. And
But I don't think George needs me to become ADA compliant. I think that's
Well,
why I'm losing.
George needs to know what you're gonna do with what parts. of the
When I
building.
say cosmetically, I'm saying if we need to put down more floors. I'm not saying like, let's knock down the wall.
You just wanna go in there and use the building,
Right.
so.
So I think from what I would ask of the city today, if we could just move forward with say, the lease pending X, Y, and Z, because we still have to sign the lease, and there still has to be specifics in the lease. I have people to report to, so I don't want to, and I'm in South Carolina too, working on my dissertation, so my time is extremely limited with coming to Alabama, so I don't want to have to make a couple trips back and forward, if that makes sense.
Can we get George to look at the building and like Mike said, get the state fire marshal down here to make sure that it's in compliance, and if it's in compliance, then we don't have a problem, right? We can go forward.
We can get everything ready to
Right.
have it for the next council meeting.
Right.
I mean,
And
I think
then
that's
we
enough
get in
time,
touch
that
with
2
them.
weeks for us to
Right, right.
get all the paperwork, look at everything, and come up with what type of lease or whatever we wanna do.
We could move forward without you having to be president, that's fine. It could be phone calls, conversations back and forth,
Okay.
and work toward a final draft that would be fine with the city, and would be fine with Unite.
Sounds good.
So we're all on board.
We're all on board.
Okay, awesome.
It's just a matter of,
So you guys are gonna reach out to George, or should I reach, you guys reach out to George?
We'll make sure, Louis
Okay.
will make sure, we get to George. Please.
All right, well, thank you guys so much. We look forward to this opportunity of working with you guys, and don't forget.
Thank you, yeah.
That's what I call.
We'll get Louis to give you a call.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
surplus property discussion. We have a list. They come up with a list of surplus property, for the review. With everything that we've covered tonight, if you take a look at that, and if you have any questions or concerns, or, come up with a timetable. Lewis has been a little tied up with election that's about to come up and everything.